Hey, this is Gazbot, and I call this the preamble, or prologue, if you will, to our A4 update, yeah, well, good. That exemplifies why I'm doing this preamble. This video, the updates in general are less polished than when I was doing the 100 Days of Making Comics, which is ironic because those I had to do every single day, and this is I have more time. But I find myself, because it's not an immediate thing, I kind of put it off and then, you know, throw it together and pick up a thing. And so I've been experimenting with ways to streamline it a little bit, and for this update, I feel like I didn't do a particularly good job of making it coherent and streamlined. I made sure to film myself saying something about the day every day, but this resulted in me being like, oh, I'm out somewhere, let me just use my phone on my face as I'm walking. So there's a lot of shaky stuff and a lot of weird lighting and things like that. And also it's bizarre because from day to day, my mood will be fluctuating wildly, and like one day I'll be like, woohoo, I'm doing the thing, and the next day I'll be like, I'm sad about art. So This was filmed at the end. Today is Tuesday, Tuesday night. So you'll see everything unfold in order, but it's a little bit awkward, and I'm still working on the best way to do this. So anyway, awkward ho! I went to the sort of fake Whole Foods healthy store. Anyway, they had a vegetarian breakfast burrito. Microwave in 3 minutes. I liked everything about that. Cooked it up, took a bite. Oh man, guess what? No. Well, it's the horror production update number 4. Today, I did not work on the horror at all. I did a lot of drawing today, but I was working on this big 22-person character job that's kind of been hanging over my head, and I got about a third of that done, which took me most of the day, and then I did other real-life stuff. So not a very exciting day. Not productive on the horror whatsoever. But tomorrow, tomorrow, well, let's see. What's going on tomorrow? Fade to tomorrow, fade to tomorrow, fade to tomorrow, go, go, go.
You are falling under my power. You believe that the horror A4 will come out soon and be popular. You are a popsicle.
What? Oh, come out of it, come out of it. This is now the second day of this update. Today is Thursday. Did not work on the horror at all again. Once again, I spent the entire day working on this big 22-person caricature thing, which tomorrow I hope to not be done with, but done with all the inks, and I'm going to send that to the client to just approve for colors. And yeah, I've really been in like a heavy get work done mode, which isn't leaving a lot of time for antics, bike rides, or the horror. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm going to definitely try to put in some time in the horror because this weekend I have Big Wow. So hopefully we're going to cut right now to me going, yeah, I did it! And it's Friday. Still haven't worked on the horror. I'm doing a bad job. I've been spending a lot of time getting ready for Big Wow. As you can see, the behind-the-scenes nothingness that's happening. So this weekend will be spent mostly doing this. I'm going to try to get a little work on the horror done tonight if I can. If only I had some way to, I don't know, go back or what's the word, or find some sort of extra time. Oh well, I guess I'll keep going. Got a good luck moth buddy. Look how big it is. It's a pretty big moth. Okay. There it goes. Hey, check me out. I'm in the kitchen. This has been, I realize, a bit of a disjointed video. I'm trying to do sort of what I did last time with the update, where instead of recapping everything at the end, I'm taking videos as I go, but trying to do it linearly. So it is still Friday. I came home after sort of setting up for Big Wow, and did put an hour in on the horror A4. And what I mainly did was the same thing I was doing last time, was working on the like bubbles, word balloons, bubbles. I worked on bubbles. The word balloons for the second panel of the page I was working on. Redrew it, and was still having trouble fitting the word balloons. And then I was remembering something that I had seen on Chris Oatley's things that I mentioned last time about, and I'd seen other people talk about this too, about doing the lettering in the rough stage, like completely doing the lettering. Now I'm not going to do that. I'm not even 100% sure if I'm going to do the lettering myself or get someone to help me with it, but I realized I could just put in some font and kind of get a good rough idea. So that's what I did, and it was helpful in showing me exactly how much space I needed, and I cut out a few words and adjusted it, and then I got it mostly fit in, but I had such small area, and I wanted to do like a little bit of a background in this panel, and I realized that the font I was using, the size, was probably larger than I needed, but I wasn't 100% sure, because I haven't done a lot of printing out my lettering myself anyway. Usually someone else letters it or handles that part of it. So, or I do it digitally, and there's no, resizing print component. This light is weird. This is the kitchen. I shouldn't use the kitchen, but again, in keeping with want to just, go on. These are like lower production value than my previous videos. I apologize. I'm going to have to find some... It's a learning experience. Just like with the 100 days, these updates are a learning experience. Nevertheless, I press on with what I'm talking about now. So anyway, I printed it out roughly to size it should be, and compared it to a comic I had nearby, which was Dark Knight Returns, and I'll show you right here what I saw. So it was too big, or at least bigger than average comic size, which is what I was going for. I guess this would be the size if it was like for a young kid's book. And while it's certainly not, blood, gore, boobs and stuff that a kid couldn't look at, I'm not aiming for young children, so I reduced the font. It was a 24 point, I reduced it to a 20, compared it again, and it was still a bit big, so I reduced it to a 19. Now, this might not be the font I use. Again, this is just a placeholder. But by doing that and reducing the size, I readjusted the bubbles. It's still a bit crowded, but it works, and I can move on from this panel. And it took about an hour to do, but it was sort of a exercise in learning, experimenting. I'm realizing how not good of a letterer I am. That's an awkward way to say it. How not good of a letter. Let's just let that sentence move on, shall we? Goodbye, sentence. You were good enough. You got the point across. Not very eloquent, but fine. So anyway, that was today. And I'll throw up like the sort of the final now. So it's still very rough, and the page needs more work, but that's kind of where I'm going right now. Might adjust it again when I revisit it for like the final art and stuff, but tomorrow's Big Wow, which is going to be Silicon Valley Comic-Con because Steve Wozniak bought it, and I guess Stanley is somehow tangentially involved. If you watch that video they put out, it's pretty funny because it clearly is Stanley had recorded something, and then they superimposed it to Wozniak pretending to talk to him, and it's just funny. So I was excited when I thought we were getting another convention in my area, because they used to have one up in San Francisco called WonderCon, which moved down to Anaheim temporarily, but now it's permanent. So that was a little bit disappointing. And so kind of the buzz was, oh, we're getting a new one. Man, I look plastic. I look like Lieutenant Commander Data. I cannot do that, Captain. Anyway, but really they're taking over Big Wow. So next year Big Wow won't exist. It's going to be the same basic time and the same place, but they're going to take over the entire convention center instead of just one area. And so I'll probably do it again, but it's weird because when I first moved here, it used to be called SuperCon. And the first year I moved here and I tabled there, they changed the name to Big Wow. So I've been doing it for a few years, and now they're changing it again. But they're billing it at, like, we're creating this thing. And really, they're just sort of appropriating a thing that already exists and expanding upon it. And I'm sure it'll be better and have more traffic and whatever, and good, I hope the table prices don't go up, but I would much rather prefer we keep Big Wow as it is and have a new thing. Although, when I was driving away, we did, like, one street over from the convention center was Wozway, which was obviously named for Steve Wozniak, and it's like, well, I guess this is why we're doing this. Anyway, tomorrow should be excitement.
And it's a Big Wow kind of Saturday. There were a lot of good photo ops and cool panels and a lot more stuff going on this year than in previous years, but I was tabling. As you can see here, I'm setting up my tower. This was the first time using that. Usually I had like kind of a book rack, but this worked a little better. There's qubits right next door. And I think in the future I might sort of do 2 towers with a connector piece. Table next to me. People never showed up all weekend, so I put my stuff on the table. That is the 3rd time it's happened to me in like a year or 2 that it's been next to me, and I've essentially got a free table. It's weird. And these are Q's Perler Adventure Time coasters. Buy them as a set only, people. Only as a set. And here are some cosplayers that did a pretty good job of resembling the 10th and 4th Doctors, respectively. Bop, bop, bop. Wait! Everyone's so excited about this really loud announcement that's permeating. Look over here. People are so excited about this. It's just excellent job. So loud! Saturday night, evening, after Big Wow. Did pretty well. That loud thing from the last clip was some crazy Punisher thing that they put on accidentally. It was horrible. Everybody hated it. It was really terrible. And it happened like twice, I think, and then like they just couldn't figure it out. It was so loud. And anyway, we went out to eat with some people that we met at the con last year, and now I'm walking to get ice cream. So I should probably pay attention to where I'm going because that car almost hit me. Well, I got my ice cream. Yeah! It's cinnamon bun. Gonna chomp this down for a job well done. What I was starting to say is, sales today were not super phenomenal, but pretty good. Between Q and I think we made table, which is always a good place to be at the end of the first day. It's only a 2-day con, so tomorrow everything we do will be profit. I did do 2 con sketches. Neither I was really thrilled with, but the people that got them seemed happy enough, so I'll go ahead and put them up. Here's one. And then the other. So yeah, that's that. Moving on, I guess we're gonna head into day 2. That's awesome, thank you. Oh my God. That's fantastic. Sunday, day 2 of Big Wow. We got stormtroopers getting dressed and other things. Ended up getting in early Sunday, so this was actually before everything opened. I walked around a lot. There was a lot of swords and a lot of weapons. There was at least 2 huge double booths full of this stuff, which is definitely more than I've seen there before. And then this, I think some people started coming in, and I basically just sort of ran around right in the morning and then again right at the end. There was somebody on this stage for most of the show, singing, doing comedy, rapping, all I guess theoretically nerd related, although I wasn't there to watch, so I couldn't police that properly. And there's some more doctors. Sorry, this camera work is terrible, I apologize. They had this cool Hall of Justice backdrop, and you can see the Marvel family there. There was always a line for that when it was open. I actually took my picture again before it even opened. And yeah, there's a lot of cool cosplay in this area that I was trying to capture and failing miserably. So, but I did just stop and take a picture of Xena. See her? Here's my picture. Ta-da! So there you have it. And we'll cut from that to the selfie I took, which made for a pretty good Instagram picture, if I do say so myself. There was a Shao Kahn. You see a lot of Mortal Kombat, but usually it's Sub-Zero Scorpion. And this guy was good at posing. I didn't tell him what to do. This was an awesome toy shop, had a lot of cool Japanese toys. There was 2 or 3 that had some really cool Japanese toys, all way overpriced. This was like a impromptu Neil Adams setup thing that he was selling. These are the 2 toys I bought. A little Power Ranger chibi posable guy that actually looks pretty good. And here's a picture of me with my Silverhawks electronic toothbrush. Yeah! This was an awesome combo, except for the Beetlejuice on the left. Didn't really look like Beetlejuice and had seemingly the wrong outfit. Ecto-1, which seems to be more and more ubiquitous. And the DeLorean, of course. I did not get a picture with either of these. That looks like they're charging $10 for the picture, which I didn't even notice. And they had this booth in the middle about how it turns into Silicon Valley, Comic-Con with like a bucking bronco thing. And there's some swamp monster guy. This I've seen before. They're I don't even know what they're advertising, but it's sort of like a super steampunkified. I don't know. They take characters. I don't know if they built them from scratch or modify them. I don't even know what they're advertising, but I've seen them at several cons. Over here, behind us, our area is right here. Behind me here, where you can't see, is Eric Larson. Actually, I don't think he's there right now, but the artist Savage Dragon. I have not spoken to him, although I have spoken to him in the past. And if you look right here, this gentleman who is, well, not the little child, but the gentleman who's at the drawing table drawing in front of people is Mick Gray, who I've mentioned earlier as being awkward around and not approaching. And I will continue that today by not approaching him. So this is as close as I get, is as close as you get. So oh wow, look at that. Yeah. This was a sketch cover I didn't do for anybody. I had done the rocket part for Inktober and just put a Groot behind it. And I will be putting up this for sale, if you're interested.
It's a great day out today. It's nice and sunny, but it's cool. It's like 66, which is my favorite because I hate sweating, but I like sun. I love when the light comes through trees like this, or it dapples. Guys, it dapples. Anyway, there's something about that that's always appealed to me. I'm not sure exactly why, but yeah, I find it aesthetically pleasing and mentally calming, and there's just something about it I like. Probably I'm not the only one. So it's Monday. WonderCon is done. It was fun. I had more fun than I did success. Ran into some friends, some acquaintances, some people I know just from cons. A couple repeat customers, which is always nice. Yeah, everybody was very nice, and it was a fairly well-run show, except for that one part where they blew our ears out with the loudspeaker. And I'm glad because the Silicon Valley Con, which I don't know how big of a news that is elsewhere, but here it was a big deal because it was like Steve Wozniak and Stan Lee teamed up to make this new Comic-Con, and it was really big wow. And they were there at Big Wow, but there was a lot of different stories going around, but basically it seemed like first they were making a new con, then, oh, they're just taking over Big Wow and renaming it. And now what it is I guess Big Wow is somewhat partnered up with the Silicon Valley Con, so that next year, in the same location at the same time that Big Wow would normally be, will be Silicon Valley Con. Then in the fall, Big Wow will occur. So I guess they're like partners or under the same banner, they're trying to build a brand, whatever, but we're getting two cons instead of one, which is the best possible scenario, and I feel like Stanley had almost nothing to do with it other than putting his name on it. But the show itself went well. Yeah, money-wise and sales-wise, like I said, did okay. Saturday did really good. If both days were like Saturday, would have come out pretty ahead. No, I did come out ahead. I mean, we made all our costs back and a little bit of profit, but not a lot. And you got to think, you know, spending your whole weekend there, 2 days. Now, arguably, like I said, you know, you catch up with friends and other artists and other vendors, and you see fans, you get your work out there. And certainly, the more of these shows I do, the more people come back looking for new stuff, the more of a good time I have. But in terms of pure profit, I couldn't imagine doing, like, I think about doing more shows all the time, but I only do, like, you know, 4 or 5 shows a year, and I feel like that's enough in terms, like, I don't make money doing them. Like, I technically make money, but if I come out of a show and made $50 for a weekend or $100 for a weekend, is that really worth it? You know, I mean, if I was unemployed when I was younger, it was like, oh man, well, what was I gonna do anyway? Just sit around doing nothing, and I made $100, you know, but I could be working on my own stuff, or I could be working on client work and make more money. And, you know, I have friends and, you know, I have a wife who comes with me, but we'd have more fun probably at home together. You know, it's tough, because I do enjoy it. But I couldn't imagine doing it more than I do unless I started having a lot more success monetarily or, like, built up a fan base. You know, when the horror comes out, I'll be wanting to promote that. I'll probably do a lot of shows that year. But where it is now, it's just, yeah, a couple times a year as a touchstone for whatever. I guess you get my point. As you may notice, I'm walking around. I'm trying to do a new thing, at least for a week or two. I don't think it's... I've tried to implement schedules before, and I always fail because something always changes in my life or in the project or whatever, and so I always adjust and whatever. But what I'm trying to do is I have 2 client things I have to do: the big character job, and I have a page, a kid switch I need to do. And I also have, like, house cleaning that I've fallen way behind on, and I always try to get more exercise and stuff, so I just basically broke my day down and said, okay, a half hour I will exercise. That's this right now. I mean, it's not big exercise, I'm going to walk for a half hour. I was going to make some phone calls, that's what I usually do, but I figured I'd make a video instead. Second half hour is for practicing art stuff. You know, practicing anatomy or perspective or anything I'm feeling weak on. I will spend a half hour doing that. Again, I'd like to see this be like an everyday thing, but I'm being realistic and saying I'm going to try to do it for a week. Another half hour, 2 hours spent on client work, which I've already done, but it was like 3 hours. And an hour spent on household cleaning, like the normal stuff I have to do every day. And then a half hour spent on, like, once in a while stuff, like, you know, vacuuming the living room or cleaning out, I don't know, something. This is not super exciting. The point is I broke my day down into, like, an 8-hour shift, including my housework in the 8-hour shift, including my client work as well as my personal work in the 8-hour shift, including my working on my own art skills, I should say, in the 8-hour shift, including exercise in the 8-hour shift. And the idea is I will still work beyond this. I will still have other activities, productive or not productive, you know, before and after this 8 hours. But if I achieve all the things I want to in these 8 hours, at least for a week or two, then I'll finish up the client work I have, make some good progress on the horror, which I've still been going, but, you know, I've dropped off a little bit because I've gotten busy and stuff. And then, and also bring up my art skills in general, and just kind of like, I guess I feel like every day I will have accomplished a lot in a lot of different areas. Like all my bars will have gone up like 10%. Whereas now I feel like often I'm like raising my strength, and my stamina, my dexterity, my intelligence are boo. So I guess I'm trying to just like level out the statistic playing field for my life a little bit. And again, I'm not so naive to think that this would last forever, but if I could keep it up for a week or two, it'll kind of get me back on track. Going back to the convention, the second day when sales weren't so good, and that was kind of true for everybody. Everybody kind of had the same story. But I guess my first day, while it was pretty good, wasn't good enough to make me be like, oh, well, the second day wasn't as good, or you know what I mean? So, and part of it is I got a discount on the table, so I didn't even pay as much as the other people did. But I had to pay for parking both days, which was $20 a day. Now, there might be ways around that, but it's in like a sort of downtown city area, so most of the places you would park, you're going to have to pay. And if I'm paying $15 and then have to walk a block and a half with my stuff, well, I might as well pay $20, I guess, you know. But I'm going to look into options if I have a friend or something. Maybe I could drop my stuff off at the con and then park somewhere else and walk over, because that'd be $40 more profit I'd have. Similarly, both days I bought coffee and bagels and water and things like that at the con, which was easily $30. Again, that was not profit because I spent on that sort of thing. So I think in the future, I will try to bring my own things or ask someone to watch my table, or if Q's with me, maybe she could go out and get something, so that, you know, there's a certain amount of stuff you can bring, but like sometimes you just want a hot coffee in the middle of the day, and you can't bring that, but you end up paying like $4 for terrible coffee. I'd rather pay $2 for good coffee, you know, but you have to leave to do that. So these are just little cost things, because, you know, if I can make it more cost effective, maybe I would do more cons. But I was also feeling like a little bit down, just in general about the con experience, and I actually was kind of, hadn't done cons since I was younger and did like fanzines and things like that, where I had like a book to promote. They were garbage, but I didn't know that at the time. And I feel like I'm doing this walkthrough thing, and I can see a lot of people hating it. So this might not be something I'll do again. So let me know if this is just terrible, or you're glad that I'm doing more content and I got a video up, even if it's not super polished and the light and shaking and everything. It's kind of an experiment. But anyway, at some point I stopped going to cons / stopped producing books of some sort. And when I got back into going to a con, I think it started kind of when I came out here to California. My local comic shop was like, hey, we want to do an art show. You're an artist, and, you know, do some zombie pictures and whatever. And so I quick made up like 10 prints or 15 prints or whatever and did that show. But then I had these extra prints, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do a show. And my friend Mike came out for Ape that year, and I guess he had a book promoting, and he didn't have to pay for the table, and he's like, if you want to just sit with me, you can put up a couple of your prints. So I did, and I think I sold like one print, but I didn't pay anything, and I hung out with my buddy, and I was like, okay. And then I started doing the local show, selling prints, and every year I'd made a little more money. Where the first year I lost a few bucks, the second year I broke even, and then since then I always make money in varying degrees. But I haven't had anything to promote, like, even now, like, I have the horror, but I didn't talk to anybody about it. Like, I didn't want to be that guy that's like, yeah, I got a book coming out eventually, and I don't have any merchandise for it. I just have all my prints of, you know, either licensed stuff or my own stuff. A lot of Godzilla stuff, really, and pins and stuff. And I do offer commissions, con sketches, that kind of thing. But I've just, like, I kind of lost enthusiasm for doing the same thing and just going and trying to sell some prints. And, you know, it's so based on the character more than my artwork. I mean, assuming all my artwork is adequate, the stuff that I might think is drawn extremely well might not go for anything because somebody's not interested in that character. But like the ones that I'm not even really a big fan of and I want to stop printing because I drew it like 4 or 5 years ago, oh, it's a big seller. Well, a big seller being a relative term. Maybe I've sold like 5 of them or something, you know, but because of the character, not because of me necessarily. So, you know, Scott Zirkle and other people have talked about this before. And I also talked about, like, some shows now, there's, like, weird legal stuff where, yeah, everybody turns a blind eye at the show, but to show what I do, I couldn't put it up. Like I talked about this before with, I think it was Big Wow, where I want to show, like, Godzilla stuff, 'cause I have a lot of Godzilla stuff, but I can't, you know, so I'm not going to stop doing it, but I'm not going to stop doing licensed prints, but I actually prefer selling them on Etsy and stuff in some ways, because then I don't live and die by the sale. Then I don't live and die by, oh, did they like it? It's just out there and people buy it or don't. And here's the thing, I'm not even like, I wasn't even crazy bummed because of the bad sales Sunday, because I knew I'd made my money Saturday and everything. And like I said, I had, like, socially had a good time and like hung out with people, but I almost felt like I would have had a better time had I just come to this con as opposed to be tabling. It's tough. It's tough. It's not tough. My life is not tough, but it's tough to articulate what the issue is. It's a very first world kind of problem, you know? But a weird thing, I put up a video earlier about that artist Mick Gray, who was like drawing at the table there, and I've seen him before. That's like kind of his thing, which is a cool gimmick, and he's getting some real work done, obviously, or hopefully. But I didn't talk to him. And behind me, like almost directly behind me, was Eric Larson, of the co-founder of Image, Spider-Man artist, Savage Dragon artist, you know, huge name in the 90s, and even still today people know him and, you know, hopefully respect him, whether you like his artwork or not. He certainly was big in the industry, let's put it that way. And I've actually spoken with him a few times in the past, going to a con as a fan or aspiring artist or whatever, and had him look at my portfolio samples, or, you know, I bought a copy of Savage Dragon from him or whatever, and he seems like a really approachable, nice guy, and he's given me pointers on perspective and all that kind of stuff, like exactly what you'd want like a pro artist to be when you approach them. And I was at a table, I was exhibiting near him, theoretically peers, but I was like, it was really weird to me, because typically in Artist Alley, it's kind of the unknowns are together, or, you know, relatively unknown at least. Like, there might be somebody that's more successful than me because they have one book out that, you know, they self-published or Boom did one time or something. But then you have and like this was true, like they had like Kevin McGuire, Art Adams, Neil Adams, Adam Hughes, all the Adams together. That's weird, I didn't think of it that. But like the big name, you know, known artists that everybody wants to see were kind of in their own little area, which was sort of part of Artist Alley, but it was their own little section. And there was other people grouped up that way. But here's Eric Larson, just in my little pod with me and the guy next to me who's selling prints almost exactly doing the same thing I am, and the girl to the left who does like Alice in Wonderland artwork, and, you know, just a bunch of not well-known artists. And most of us there didn't even have a book, you know? So I had really mixed feelings. I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, oh, I guess in some weird small way I made it. Like when I think about, like, you know, my 16-year-old self, who, you know, was like, oh my God, Image is the best. If you had told me, oh yeah, you're going to be at a con sitting, I mean, not next to, but behind, in front of, whatever, sitting alongside with Eric Larson, you know, selling stuff and drawing pictures just like him, I would be like, that's crazy, awesome. But it made me feel like, man, and I know he's doing well. This isn't like a pity party for him, but it's like, wow, he's kind of done it all, been almost as successful as you could be in some ways, and yet here he is doing the same thing as me. Now, arguably, he was getting more money and didn't need it as much, and maybe he was just enjoying it more as opposed to trying to build his brand or make sales. But you know, it was still just him at a table in crappy Artist Alley, you know. What I did also notice that, again, everything I'm talking about, I'm kind of go back and forth with how I feel about it. His table was just a couple pages. It was like a portfolio of art, which I think he was selling some original pages, and then a sketch pad, and he was doing commissions or whatever. And that's it. No big thing that says Eric Larson. I had the little, you know, crappy Eric Larson on the table. No big Image comics, no Savage Dragon. Wasn't selling prints, wasn't selling comics. He was there as Eric Larson, the artist. And after I got done packing up all my garbage, and we moved out to the car, we were driving away, and Eric Larson was standing on the corner waiting across the street. All he had was a big old school portfolio. And I'm like, that's kind of badass to just roll in with a portfolio like that, and then go back out. And, you know, I found that appealing, but I also was like, well, if he doesn't do a bunch of sketches, why not have some Savage Dragon prints out to sign? Why not have the whatever? But I guess if you don't have to, as you can see, I don't have a definitive, this is not a lot of answers or conclusions, this is a lot of musings during and after the fact. But yeah, it was weird. This show definitely stirred up a lot of intellectual and emotional things in me that I don't know what the resolution is to, and I'm not even sure what some of the questions are. But I'm going for a walk and I'm sharing them with you folks. So anyway, I have this was the first show of the year, and I have a few more shows coming up, one of which is the Godzilla Night 4 Bay Area film events, and that I'm looking forward to, because it's a shorter show, and I'm one of, like, the only artists there, and everybody's a big Godzilla fan, and I sell my Godzilla prints, and I do some Godzilla sketches, and that's a good time. I'm doing a Wizard World for the first time. It's probably the biggest con I've ever done, and that's going to be in San Jose. I don't know how that's going to go. I mean, I'm already committed to it and stuff, but
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's not that I get anxiety of, like, I don't get nervous, like, oh God, you know, it's just like more, yeah, I don't know how to, I'm not sure, yeah, baby. So this is, this is introspective, guys. Welcome to my soul. Anyway, but like, okay, so I had a couple sketch commissions, and I did them, and I always like doing that because it helps pass the time, and make a couple extra bucks, and hopefully somebody gets something a little bit more unique than just another comic or even another print. But I wasn't thrilled with either one. One was a sketch cover for Walking Dead, wanted a zombie Rick Grimes, and the other one was a brand new sketchbook, a little one though, and the guy wanted to get all Dragon Ball Z characters, so I picked it. He said, whichever one you want, so I picked one and did it. Now, I charged $10 each for these, because they were waist up pencil. So I don't think they got ripped off or anything like that, and I didn't intentionally do a bad job, but I found myself stressing over them, and I'm not sure why I was stressing as much as I was, but, well, with the Dragon Ball, the small book didn't help, to be honest. But I also think I have a hard time with sketch covers. Like, I don't know why, but, like, I hate that the logo's on there. Like, I want to almost draw the thing and then put the logo in, but I'm working around the logo, and maybe I need to be a better graphic designer, a better layout in my head, but it's just like, oh, do it now, you know, and they're going to be back in a few minutes. It's not like I could spend as long as I like. And that's the other thing. If I'm doing inks, I charge more because it takes longer and you get a more finished product. But I could do a couple pencil roughs and play around a little bit and then ink it and whatever. And they also expect it to take longer. If I'm doing pencils, I kind of have to just do it. You know, I can't really mess around, so there's more pressure that way. And I also feel like it's not like, I guess if you're Eric Larson, everybody's like, hey, draw me Spider-Man, draw me Savage Dragon. And while it might get tedious, you've done it a million times. And even if it's another character, you've just drawn so many superheroes and so many, you know, oh, here's a punch pose, here's a jump pose, and you have kind of a stock that you can modify. I feel like every time I do a drawing, especially at a con, I'm like reinventing the wheel. Like, okay, draw Rick Grimes as a zombie. All right, well, let me look up reference for what Rick looks like, and oh, he's got a gun. Let me look up reference for a gun, like, you know, and it's like, it's for a $10 drawing, you know. And then similarly with Dragon Ball, I've drawn one Dragon Ball character in my life, and it wasn't the one I was drawing. So I was looking up reference and redrawing, and it's just weird, you know, like, I feel like, I don't know, it should be easier at this point, which is something a lot of us say. And then I decided to just draw a Savage Dragon for myself, because I had Eric Larson on the brain, and I got like halfway through it, and I got disgusted with myself and just stopped. And I wasn't going for a masterpiece. I was looking for like a pinup of a guy swinging a fist, but I'm like, oh, the fingers look wrong, and I redrew that hand 15 times, and then the fin is weird, and like, you know, it's just like, I had that very unhealthy, annoying feeling that we all get from time to time of like, I just can't draw. What the heck am I doing? I just need to stop drawing and get a job somewhere, you know. And it passed, and I'm fine. And I don't plan on getting a job somewhere unless I really have to. So once again, the fact that I have limited options and, you know, failed history and gym in high school is good. Because if I had a fallback, who knows, maybe I would have went to that fallback by now. So the advice I give children is often, hey, if you want to be an artist, plan on not making a lot of money and don't give yourself any other options. And then you got no choice. You're going to be poor and working as an artist. And that's the thing, I could always make more as an artist than making minimum wage. And any job I would get that wasn't art would be minimum wage. So it's not really a choice. Even if I lost all passion and skill, it would still be financially the smarter choice. And I'd have more free time. And that's the other thing. Even if I'm literally making minimum wage, I will have more, I don't want to say free time, more flexible time to do things, you know, during the day if I need to. So anyway, this is getting long. I should probably make this a video. I was thinking that I would like make the video tomorrow, but if I have more to say tomorrow, it's going to get crazy long. So I'm going to try to put some work on the horror tonight. I'm going to try to do a process video. I can't promise, but I guess in a minute, I will cut 2 hours from now and tell you what happened, maybe show you a process video, maybe not. All right, here we go.
Which brings us back to today, Tuesday. Remember me from the beginning of the video? Same guy. Oh, here's something that might be interesting. Bop, 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 bop. Wearing my Monkey Mod shirt. Kevin Cross, Monkey Mod shirt. You could get one too, or at least you could. I don't know. I'll put the link below. It may or may not still be available. They may bring it back around. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. So anyway, today was my most productive day on the Horror A4, strangely. Well, not strangely, it just was. I did 2 hours, and the bulk of that was messing around, again, with lettering and balloons, and I'm starting to think, going forward, I'm going to be like putting in the lettering, and I'm just, you know, putting in with the typeset font that I picked randomly, and I'm just drawing in the bubbles real rough. But I think going forward on the roughs, I might start doing the lettering first, seeing as how it may or may not become an issue later. I don't want to have to deal with it later. I'd rather deal with it now. So all the roughs I have left, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then when I go back to page 2 to start inking and doing final artwork, I may do it with those pages as well, just to avoid any future complications. But anyway, what I did today was work on a new page, page 17, I believe. So I'll go ahead and show you, I'll do like a fade over thing where I had the rough thumbnail blown up, and then I did the borders, and then before I did any artwork, and it's also weird, I often do the borders first, which seems counterintuitive because you want to like make the borders match the artwork and stuff. But I find if I kind of know what I want in the thumbnails, then by putting the borders in like definitively, like these are the final borders, I don't know, for some reason it helps me do it, frame it better or whatever. I know for some people it's just the opposite, but that's just how I do it, or at least how I've been doing it on this book. So then I put in the word balloons, and then I went ahead and started doing rough art, and I've got through the first couple panels there of Bobby Chobson and his erstwhile long-lost friend who, no, it's just like an old school buddy, who is, what's his name, BJ, who is the CEO. There it is. Here's them. There's them. And yeah, so a decent chunk today. The whole plan of being on that schedule that I talked about, Monday I kind of half followed it, and today I kind of half followed it, but I had to take my cat to the vet, and I had a few other things pop up outside of the ordinary day that kind of messed that up. But what I did do was yesterday I had only done 45 minutes in the horror when I wanted to do 2 hours, and I had done 3 hours on client work when I only wanted to do 2 hours, etc. So some of the things got out of whack. So today the things that I didn't get to are the things that I were deficient in yesterday. I put those on the top of the list. And then the things that I had overachieved or achieved at least I put on the bottom of the list. So for example, I didn't do any client work today, which isn't necessarily good, but you know, I'm still, again, trying to get that balance of all the levels going up together. Level, level, level. That should be a GIF. Anyway, it's like I'm smelling my own farts. That's not how I do it. I do it more like this. Anyway, so production update 4 for the Horror A4. Bye. I can't end on that note. Here's a happy ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. We'll fade to black right here.